You're listening to
Hello, Huddersfield.
the Voices of Huddersfield Inspiring the Future Vision. Hello, and thank you for listening to Hello Huddersfield. Today for our podcast, we have with us Bethany Woodcock from Huddersfield University Students' Union, who will share with us her visions for Huddersfield Town Centre in the near future and beyond. To get involved with this or future podcasts, please feel free to email us at inquiries@huddersfieldbid.co.uk. And joining me on today's podcast is Bid Manager Matthew Chapman, who will dip in and out of the discussion as we go. Hi Matthew, how are you today?
Hello Sophie, the sun's shining today, so I'm really good, thank you.
And Bethany, thank you for being with us today. How are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. It was my birthday on Friday, so it's been a very relaxing weekend.
Well, happy birthday to you. I hope you had a fantastic birthday. And tell us a little bit about what you do and your relationship to Huddersfield.
So I'm a student representative at Huddersfield Students' Union. My role as community officer is very varied, includes things like student safety, connecting students with businesses and experiences, but ultimately my job is to listen to students and their needs and deliver on them. For example, sustainability has been a really massive part of student interest, so it's been one of my main focuses this year. Students wanted to know that university is taking their environmental impact seriously, so I've been in talks for the past year with them to steer their new policies, and they've recently made a public commitment to be climate neutral. So other things include communication with the council, with the NHS, sitting on different boards and delivering important information on my social media channels. I've also been a student at Huddersfield University. I'm partway through my graphic design and animation degree, so I also have that student perspective as well as like a working perspective.
Bethany, just thinking back to, it was actually my first day working for Huddersfield Bid, and you might not have been aware at the time, but I remember the first day I was employed by Huddersfield Bid, I was kind of thrown into quite a challenging environment, a pub watch, which I think was in Five Bar. I think you were there that day, and if you think back now, it seems like an absolute lifetime ago that we were sat in a pub with a meeting with people, but I suppose it's situations like that you represent the student community. Is there any other example? Just give us a couple of other examples of the meetings and boards that you sit on where you're representing students, if you can.
Yeah, so Pub Watch is a really good one that's been running for quite a few years now, and the previous community officer went to Pub Watch as well. That's a really fantastic meeting where a few of the pubs in town get together and discuss important issues. I also sit on Huddersfield Bid Board as well, so that's really good. I also sit on various meetings when I called into, so sometimes meetings with Kirklees Council, but that's usually about various things, or if we want to chat to them about things. Also, I chat to Kirklees Health Watch as well, so I help them with understanding like the student population and their health needs.
And then if we think about the just remind me what you mentioned before about the sustainability, was that in the environment? So what in your opinion are the main things that students want to see from the kind of sustainability in the environment in Huddersfield?
I think I hear a lot about students wanting more sustainable travel options, like bus services, train services. It's mostly to do with the university's impacts on sustainability that I hear about the most.
And is it generally, when a lot of the students that we speak to, it's kind of how safe they feel, what's on offer in the town, whether that's events, whether that's the offer on kind of retail or hospitality. And one of the really interesting things, and it's kind of me showing my age on how things have changed over the past kind of 10 years or so, is if we think about the kind of Freshers Week, there's kind of a clear change of, was there a coffee trail that happens rather than the kind of, all around kind of getting boozy and alcohol? Just talk us through the coffee trail.
Yeah, definitely. So the coffee trail was a response to students saying, students who didn't drink or didn't prescribe to like the drinking culture. I think people do have this sort of stereotypical image of what students are, and I think it's difficult because there's not a lot of students that I know that do go out drinking nowadays. It is about like the coffee culture is really big, especially the cafes. Sorry, I'm really bad when it comes to things that are unscripted.
It's all right.
I need
It's
time to
fine,
think
but
about
I
stuff.
think
Yeah.
when you came into your role as community officer, I was actually my final year at uni there, and at that
Yeah.
time there was this big discussion about what a student night should look like, and it shouldn't always be around drinking. And I know the BAME ambassadors at that time were pushing for more diverse things on what student life or trail should be like, and it's really good to see that these coffee trails are something that's part of the student union now. So thank you for that, and thank you for um, applying what you do, student voices. So that's been fantastic. Whilst you've been in Huddersfield, could you tell us a bit about your favourite memory?
Yeah, so when I was running for elections, because I knew I specifically wanted to be the community officer, I knew that I needed to understand what was out there for students. I spent around a week just walking around Huddersfield and just seeing what's happening. There was so many people doing fun things, putting on events, information stalls. In the market, there was like a big interactive display about protecting our environment, and outside on the grass there was like a farm project. And interacting with those people and learning those stories, it's clear that people have a really close connection to the area. I'm originally from Preston in Lancashire, but what I really love about Yorkshire especially is that people are really proud of where they come from here. Like, I've never seen such things as like Yorkshire flags or merchandise with Yorkshire slang on it. Like in Lancashire, like, that's kind of unheard of. Like, I've never heard of people having such a sense of belonging. So here, like in Huddersfield, I really do feel part of a wider community, and I do feel that Huddersfield really is my second home.
So Bethany, what do you think needs to be Huddersfield's unique selling point?
Yeah, so just before the pandemic, I saw like an uprise of startup businesses and smaller projects popping up, especially in the town centre. I really love things like food festivals and the markets. I found that Huddersfield is very enterprising, and we need to be supporting and emphasising these smaller businesses. Like, I've actually visited towns just because of one shop that was there. So, for example, in Slough, there's a shop called Zero Yorkshire, and it's like a zero waste shop. Like, I've like specifically travelled there just for that shop, but obviously whilst I'm there I go to other shops as well. So we need to be supporting these like small business ventures, promoting small family owned businesses, local businesses, Yorkshire businesses, as these like really make up the heart and soul of Huddersfield.
That's a really good point, Bethany. And it's really interesting that you mentioned on the startup and pop-up businesses. And one lady that we've been speaking to a lot is Lee Moreland, that you might know I think it's in the Enterprise set up of the 3M Buckley building. And we're constantly talking of ways of retaining, I guess, the student community and all those people that got the skills to set up these startup businesses or these pop-up businesses and add to the value of the town centre. And hopefully so, when we come out of this pandemic, there'll be different ways to keep hold of that business community. But is there for any reason a reason why students do kind of move on from Huddersfield, or do you tend to see a lot of people staying because of the love that you previously mentioned for the town?
Yeah, so I think from a perspective of a student, there's like lots of nightclubs and pubs, which is great, great for like the student life, but I'm not the type of person to go around clubbing at night. It's not really my type of thing. So for people who aren't here for the nightlife, there isn't much drawing you to the town centre. I think students do have a bit of a negative image anyway, because it's a shame, because I do find it is a mix. Like, there's a lot of Huddersfield students that have grown up and they've moved somewhere and then they've come back and set up a business here, or said, oh, I want my family to grow up here. I'd really like to see more of that, more interaction between students and the wider Huddersfield community. We've had some great stuff happen before, and I hope post-pandemic we can get student projects running again. I think on a different note, like, there's there is still this sort of notion of like, if you're a student, you have to get down to London because that's where all the jobs are. But it really isn't. Like, I know people who've gone down to London, and it's because everybody is told, you have to go down south, go down to London. All the jobs are there. If you want to do anything, all the jobs are there. But there's so many fantastic opportunities up here in the north, and I think what makes them even better is that, like, I think the north especially does have this like proudness about being in the north, this like north identity. I think there needs to be just more promotion of actually the north does have a lot of industry and a lot of business, a lot of jobs, and a lot going for it as well, for sure. And it's not just about let's get down to London.
Of course, we're not here today pretending everything is all sugar-coated and perfect. Bethany, what do you think the challenges are for the town centre?
I think that Huddersfield location is in a really difficult place. We're not very far from Leeds or Manchester, so people are choosing to get on train and travel somewhere a bit more bustling and more variety of shops. There are a lot of boarded up shops here, and it doesn't look good on the town. However, I find that they're not boarded up for long. So, for example, there's a place on the high street that's just turned into a vinyl cafe over the pandemic. I'm really excited to visit that, as it looks so interesting and unique. So for people who aren't here for the nightlife, that there isn't much drawing you to the town centre. And like I said before, there's a 20-minute train away is Leeds, where there's more variety. But I just hope that more people do choose to set up businesses in Huddersfield, because it's a great place. When I lose my flow, I lose my flow.
And I think it comes back to, Bethany, that unique selling point. And you're right, the position of Huddersfield could be seen as a challenge in a certain respect, but a positive in another respect. Well, I can't speak. In another respect, but I think Huddersfield probably needs its own unique selling point, and not trying to be Leeds or Manchester or those other big cities. And it's having that unique offer in retail, that unique offer in hospitality, that unique offer in events that's happening all the time, and a safe, welcoming place to be, whether that be how clean the streets are, how exciting the street art looks, what creative lighting we've got there. So I think it's all little things like that add up to the bigger picture. And I think at the moment, high streets are probably going to go through the biggest challenge ever seen. And some towns will adapt and some towns won't. And I think it's finding that adaptability in Huddersfield. What is that unique selling point to take the town forward, and also continue that local support and local spend that the town has seen over the past 9 to 10 months. Because where other towns, such as your Leeds and Manchesters, have been seen to struggle a little bit more than your more local towns, like your Huddersfield, your Bradford, your Halifax, that although there has been an impact, and it's a real struggle for people out there, it's not been as impactful as those bigger cities. So it's keeping hold of that, and keeping hold of that, those people that have supported the town, but accelerating it even further through the things, as I just mentioned, the events, and that unique selling point throughout the next year and beyond, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. And I totally agree with you. Huddersfield needs to not try and be Leeds or Manchester. It is its own place. What I see more of in the future is Huddersfield turning into more of like a community hub with a lot more small local businesses, and events as well. Like, we've had some really great events over the years that the community gets involved with, and definitely, like, I think when people come here, you can definitely feel that community spirit. I feel like Leeds and Manchester may be a little bit too big for something like that, but when you come to Huddersfield, you're just like, yeah, this is everyone supports each other. It's all local community. And I just see Huddersfield turning into more of a like community hub than somewhere that's trying to be like a mini city.
Right, thank you, Bethany. That's fantastic. What visions do you have, or would you like to see for the future of Huddersfield?
I know that there's a lot of money being invested in the area, so I'm quite excited to see how that pans out. But I'd just love to see more people choosing to set up their businesses here. people really love local, and if a new business promotes themselves on social media, tries to do what they can for the local community, they'll definitely see that positivity coming back to them.
And that's a really interesting point you mentioned, Bethany, and it's probably not a question you or I can definitely answer for in too much detail. But what do you think it would be that would encourage students to start up their business in Huddersfield? Is it the cost of rent? Is it how safe the town feels? And just a couple of examples. But what do you feel that main thing would be to encourage students to start their business in Huddersfield, whatever the sector?
I know that students have set up their businesses in Huddersfield before. Like I know there was a little student project that students set up and sold like their merchandise in. I think if more people set up their businesses, it'll encourage more students to set up their businesses, because I think if you're a student, not a lot of money, trying to invest everything you can in your business, I think, you know, it is about, they'll see like, you know, can I take this risk? Is there enough? And I'm not really sure about the rents either. I'm not really sure how much it costs to rent in the high street, whether the rents are too high. I'm not quite sure. I think projects like, I think if there was more promotion and support for students, I think if something was given to students that encouraging them to set up, even like making the process a bit easier, or saying some sort of grants or something. There is a lot of like entrepreneurship in Huddersfield, and it's a shame to see sort of that going to other cities.
I think maybe the saying you were looking for before, it's kind of like what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Because a lot of students, I guess, want to start up in Huddersfield, or any person that wants to start the business up in Huddersfield, but they need that assurance that the footfall's there, that they're going to have that kind of money coming through the till. But then on the other side, people maybe don't come to the town centre because they don't feel like the offer is there. But then if you kind of go back to that, students don't start up their businesses, or people don't start up their businesses because the footfall isn't there. So you kind of need one to come before the other, and it is kind of the chicken and the egg. Which one comes first? And I suppose to a certain extent, in my opinion, it maybe is the offer that comes first, because if the offer's there, people will come. But then there needs to be that flexibility to allow not just students, but any person from any background to start up their business, to increase the offer that then will naturally increase the footfall. And what that opportunity is, who knows? But I know there's lots of ongoing conversations with the council and with all kinds of other organisations in the town to try and set that ball rolling as soon as we come out of this challenging situation.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think also it's not just about, you know, give students money, give students grants, give students money. It's not just about that. I think it is about welcoming students with open arms and saying, you know, if there was an opportunity, saying, oh, we're going to help students, you know, set up a business, or we're going to have a you know, one of the boarded up shops, we're going to open it, and then students can rent, you know, you can like rent parts of the shop to display. You know, I think if more stuff like that was set up, because then it might be a student that comes and, you know, they might sell clothes or something, and then they'll sell loads of clothes and they'll set up their own shop, and it doesn't have to necessarily be like giving people money, it's just giving people the opportunities. Even if it's something was said like, oh, you know, we'll give you free advertising, or we'll promote you on social media or something like that. I'm a really big believer in the power of marketing, and I really believe that, I think if more marketing power was given to students as well, that would really help them, and they'd definitely feel appreciated as well, to know that Huddersfield wants them to stay.
And I suppose as well as that, there's a huge opportunity there that we've maybe not talked about, is the number of students that actually attend the university, and having the passion and pride there from that student community to support the town centre is huge. You know, whether that's supporting a student business or a business that's maybe been in the town for 30 years, encouraging students into the town centre to support their local town centre is huge. And I think it's something that we as the BID and all organisations maybe need to explore in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, I think it is another thing about location, isn't it? Because the university is sort of like off to the edge of the city centre, and really if you're a student that has everything you need on campus, you don't really have any excuse to come to the city centre. And there definitely needs to be more integration between the university and the town. There needs to be more sort of that communication. Needs to be more willingness from both the university and the town to work together to create these student opportunities. Because you're right, we have like 20,000 students like on campus, and it's like, that's a crazy amount. But often you wouldn't really know, because when I go through town, like you kind of see some students, but I don't see that many students. And it's like, we definitely need an excuse for students to come to the town centre.
Definitely, Bethany. I do agree there needs to be more going on in the town centre to bring them out and showcase, University of Huddersfield actually playing an important role in the success of the town centre itself as well. We've now come to the end of Hello Huddersfield, and thank you, Bethany, for being with us today on the show. Now, listeners, if you have any questions or have something you would like to share, then do get in touch with us at inquiries@huddersfieldbid.co.uk. Keep a lookout for our next podcast with another guest speaker. You're listening to
Hello Huddersfield.
The Voices of Huddersfield, inspiring the future vision.